Then obviously, even though I've been trying to avoid this administration, somehow it's all encompassing already.
I deleted.
And
Look, I didn't muted everybody.
I need to.
I Essence gone, like Breakfast Club gone, like all gone.
I
I'm not
believe
playing
it.
around. I'm
Like
not
it's
messing around.
crazy. It's all encompassing. Hey, community, here's what's brewing today.
Altadena and Los Angeles fires.
Tips for the community.
And Supreme Court updates. So get your cups ready for Minority Report.
Hey, welcome to Minority Report. It's Auntie Carell.
It's Auntie Dewan.
And Auntie Saint Germain.
Hey, the legal correspondent is back in the place to be. How
Just
you doing,
in time,
boo?
right?
Right. Just in time. Unfortunately, just in time.
Sadly, yes.
But how you been? It's been a minute.
Lots going on since I've last been here. So, I know y'all know that my family is from Altadena, California. So our family home was spared. One neighbor's house was spared. The dirt road that my family lives on only has 8 houses. So 6 of them are gone.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, yeah, no, we'll get into details of that. Wow, that's insane. But I'm glad that the house
everybody's
is
safe. That's the most important part.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. But yeah, it's cold. It's cold in these streets. It's hot out there, but it's cold in these streets. Like we've talked about how we haven't had a winter in a while.
Y'all
but this winter
it.
said, "Ho, I'm back."
Wait a minute. Y'all talked about that because I didn't say a goddamn thing. I was luxuriating in the fact that we have had some very mild winters up here in the Northeast. Even last year, when there was like a couple of like ice and winter storms that kind of came our way, they hit up towards the Boston area, the upstate New York area, but bypassed us. And I was luxuriating. And now, because all y'all got big ass mouths.
Don't say y'all, because I'm in Minneapolis. We're always the coldest state. So
y'all can keep it.
We have below 0 temperatures in November and December, and that's normally saved for January. So
no, it's cold out there. Yeah. It's funny, like before we moved to Philly, like that Christmas before we moved, so like found out we were moving to Philly like right around Christmas time. So Corey had bought me like this big like puffer jacket. And I was like, I'm not really like a puffer jacket guy, but okay, thank you, boo, whatever. So it's been in the closet ever since. And every winter, every time I go and clean through, I'm like, I'm not gonna wear this, whatever. Baby, I busted that puffer out this week. I was toasty out there in these streets. I was like, this is nice.
When you have the right gear on, it doesn't give you as much.
That is one of the, I think, the oligarchs of winter protection, making sure you got all the right things sit in your closet just in case. That includes a puffy insulated jacket. Number one, you got to have your hat, your gloves, and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
But then you also have to have good snow boots with a thick sole, not them fashion boots, not them Uggs. You need something that's gonna keep you standing on these streets when you walk in these streets, because some of these cute little boots will have you slipping and sliding and busting out some teeth and blacking out some eyes. It's not cute.
Especially if you live on any kind of incline, you be like on this like a treadmill.
And where I live in the Heights here in New York, like people don't know, like, so I don't live downtown. I live in what's called the Heights, and it's Washington Heights, Hamilton Heights, the Heights. And it's called that because there's some hills on here. Yeah. And I literally live on a 27-degree incline.
Oh.
You're working them thighs.
So, you need to make sure you have the right kind of footwear to get up, because if it's iced out, it's a wrap. How you going to get up?
Yeah.
How you going to get
looking
to the
like
train?
Scrappy Dappy Doo.
been seeing too many cars sliding back down the hill and like.
They also have these ones that are almost like cleats that you can put on your shoes. So you can still wear the cute shoes, but then still be safe.
But you got to have it.
Them.
You got to have it.
We got them here because we need them in Minnesota.
Right. Got to have them in stash. That's in storage. Yeah, I ain't seen them. But in a weird way, though, like, if it's going to snow like it has, I'd rather it be cold then. Like, I don't want it to be, like, just weird slush and everything. No, let it be cold so that shit stay on the ground then. I don't want to be walking in water all day, every day.
Yeah,
so
I'll pass on that. Look, if it's snow, I want that shit gone by tomorrow. Because New York streets are different kind of streets. When that snow packs in, there are all kinds of colorations in these danceries that
it's like, I know snow is yellow.
Yellow and brown and
doodoo brown
and just all kinds of stuff that just be seeping up through the no, it's snow and then go.
Yeah. Ooh, there we go. Ooh, they're right. That could be a host of things. Anyway, I'll keep that one on the side. But it was crazy to see even like places like New Orleans and like Houston and everything getting snow, and everybody kind of freaking out about that. And I'm like, damn, this
Atlanta.
jet stream, Atlanta. So the whole country cold right now. But
I think Houston got more snow than we have this year in Minnesota.
Wow,
crazy.
I know Houston, Greta Thunberg out there smiling real big. She's like, I told you so. Look at this. Right. Look at this shit. Look at this shit right here. Yes. We got forest fires in the middle of the city. We've got, like Arctic blasts making their way through all of North America. Yeah, you're getting all the southern states that are getting snow, like, and not just a dusting of snow. They're getting snowed down.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And meanwhile, we're no longer in the Paris climate agreement, but that's another day. That's a whole nother day. But anyway, you know what? We always bring Z in to kind of break shit down the way we can break shit down. And
she is our official legal correspondent.
The grand dame. And so it's been a minute since he's been in here, and obviously there's a whole lot of change going on. So we were like, you know what, let's tap into him. And honestly, he reached out to us and he said, hey, I got something to say. And we said, come on, boo, come on in.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And he knows he could do it. And we'd be like, yeah, absolutely, come on. But you kind of hinted at it too, like just like the fires in LA. What, just like your perspective of the whole thing, because like you have a touch point to that. Like you said, your family's from there. You grew up there. You know the area. Put in perspective, like how crazy this has been.
Yeah, like you said, it's almost like a fire in the middle of the city. So, some of the houses that were burned are easily a mile away from the Angeles National Forest. And so that's not something that normally happens. Forest fires happen all the time. January is not fire season. And so, when they were talking about, one of the tanks with 1 million gallons being empty, well, January would be a good time to work on and fix whatever needs to be fixed so that those tanks with water be available for fire season. So this is not common. It's not common for us to get 90, 100 mile an hour hurricane winds. And so there was just a culmination of issues all at once. And the sad part is a really important middle class, Black community has really been decimated. It's going to hurt my heart when I get back and actually drive around and see. I've been tracking things on the maps and everything that the officials have provided, but it looks like the whole side of town that we're on, which is the working class side. The other side tends to be the side that's richer and stuff. And so there were houses that were, historic homes that were burned down over there as well. But it's going to be likely easier for them to rebuild. But the folks on my side of town, it might be more challenging. And then you always have, those predatory, organizations and investment groups that are trying to swoop in and buy up property there. So there's a really big campaign encouraging folks not to sell.
So, like, I'm going to kind of almost skip to the end of it, but like, what information can we put out there to even, and if you don't have any, and we could probably get some after this as well, the post, but like, what's the easiest thing that we could do? Is it money? Is it trying to donate clothes? Is it what can we even do?
So what I would say is, you know, the outpouring of love from Los Angeles has been amazing. Like folks have gone to Costco to get water, sold out. You know, there was a big relief effort at the Pasadena Convention Center, as well as the Rose Bowl, which is really a really big space. They're saying no more donations, too much stuff. But the part that's going to be helpful for folks is really cash in hand. And
Okay.
so things like that, the recommendation has been, especially with folks that I know on the ground that have also lost their homes, is, you know, gift cards and stuff like that that they can use in any way that they see fit and might need, whether it be, you know, food and, you know, diapers and things like that. I mean, some of those things have already been provided. There's been some amazing not realtors. There's been some amazing vendors, you know, that have, you know, told folks that, hey, if you, you know, lost your home or impacted by the fires, come and get clothes. Just come to our location. So what I would recommend is following the local folks from Altadena, and folks in Altadena will be able to connect you with folks in the proper GoFundMe's if individual families have them up. I've heard, as usual, there's folks out there that are trying to scam folks and coming up with fake accounts and things like that. But if you connect with folks that are from Altadena and from the community, they'll be able to connect you with folks, you know, who you can help.
Man. And I hadn't honestly, and maybe it's just naive. I mean, I hadn't even really heard much about that community. And obviously, I'm not from the West Coast, never lived close to it. So maybe it's just that. But it's just like hearing these stories now. It's just like, damn, you know what's coming. Like you said, it's the predatory stuff, and quite frankly, it's just like you're gonna have families that just were like, you know what, I just ain't got it in me. I'm ready to go, and
Right.
and there goes that quote unquote gentrification of another black
Mm-hmm.
community that pushes us aside, and then the history gets erased, and
Mm-hmm.
so just shit like that just it hurts my soul and hurts my heart. That it's just like we've seen it time and time again. What usually happens in situations like this, even like something like a New Orleans, we saw it there with the hurricane, what happened
Mm-hmm.
after, and it's just like these natural disasters. It sucks for communities of color.
I mean, I mean, we know home ownership is one of the best ways to be able to build generational wealth, right? And so, you know, that's also an important aspect that's challenging with families being impacted there too.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody thinks that everybody that lives in LA is a millionaire. That's not the case. That's definitely not the
That
case.
part,
Mhm.
that part. Yeah. And you kind of see that a lot of people are like, oh well, the rich and famous guy, it is what it is. They got they got what they got, and they can rebuild. It's like no, there's always some communities that you've never heard of, some folks, and then even then, say I like got rich and worked my ass off to get rich. I don't want to lose my shit neither, ho.
Right. Right.
Like, come on, if I don't work my ass all this life, and no.
You
So
know,
man,
yes, the Pacific Palisades is an affluent community. That community is completely decimated, like gone, 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 gone. You know, at least with Altadena, there's, I'd say, half of Altadena that's probably still there, at least according to my review of the maps. Um,
okay.
but I'm glad that the reporting shifted to not just focusing on celebrities and millionaire homes that were burned
Yes.
down, but also the working class communities that were burned down as well. And I think Crump's already moved forward with a lawsuit with regards to who they think was involved in or responsible for that fire, the Eden fire.
Oh wow, I didn't hear that piece. Well, you're about to say something there, Devon?
Well, I also think it's important to recognize that it's not just the loss of the homes and possessions, but we're talking about complete infrastructures. We're talking about
Mm-hmm.
schools. We're talking about
Yep.
hospitals. We're talking about grocery stores. We're talking about roadways. We're talking about electricity. We're talking about sewage. All of these things. So this is. Let us assume that they're able to get the fires under control, which it was
Mm-hmm.
leaning in that direction up until I think the early part of this week, and then I think it made a
Yeah.
little bit of a turn for the worse. So this is going to be something that will be going on for a while. But then once that happens, there is the rebuilding. So assuming for those that that didn't lose their homes, right? They may have children that are in school. They may have loved ones that are now displaced because the elder care facilities and the urgent care facilities and the dentists and the other things that make the community small businesses, right? All of these are impacted by these kinds of natural disasters. And so this is a long haul experience. It's really unfortunate. And, I hope that it doesn't lose the attention, because it's, people think because a fire is done and it's now to the less disastrous part of it, it's getting into the rebuilding part, that's not as newsworthy, because it really is.
No, you're absolutely right. Altadena is really full of small businesses, right? Not a ton of chain restaurants or anything there. It's our favorite fish taco place was right down the street. Our grocery store, which is like an Armenian grocery store, right down the street. The bank, the post office burned down. So there's all of these aspects too. And so recommendations for folks that may have been impacted by any of the fires. If you don't have a place to have your mail forwarded, get a P.O. box and then have your mail forwarded to a P.O. box, because insurance companies could be sending you information. And if they're trying to send it to the address where your location's been burnt down, what do you do, right? And it could easily take 3 years to rebuild. And so, we can look at the fires in Hawaii and see that they're still working on rebuilding from that perspective. So it's going to take a long time.
And just even like the environmental stuff, because like I have asthma. So that's instantly the first thing I think of is like a hoe could barely breathe as it is. And to be in an environment, just the smoke from like the fires, but then you have the toxic stuff that it burnt up that's out there. Like this is a generational shift for sure of just challenges and health challenges that right now we're good, but 10 years from now we're like, damn, it's probably pinpoint from this situation at hand. So man, yeah,
some folks have said,
what to do.
Think about that. Some folks have said, think about all the particulates that went in the air during 9/11 and with these fires. Asbestos, all of this kind of stuff that we were saying is damaging and harmful to you is now in the air. And so when you're working and doing the cleanup, that comes up. You can breathe it in. It can get in your eyes. It can get in your ears. So they're really recommending, full covering of any opening that you have on your body from that perspective to make sure that you're protected. And that's not necessarily something I would have thought about. But was an amazing guy that's doing posts on social media. He was in one of the other fires. I think it was one of the Northern California fires, providing really insightful tips for folks that are just getting started on this journey that he's been on for years. So it's been really helpful.
And it's honestly almost a reminder for any of us, like to almost be like, okay, let's make sure our insurance plans are up to speed. And even though that's a whole nother battle where a lot of these insurance companies dropped.
Well, they've been dropping, folks.
But it's just like making sure your insurance plans are up to par, making sure you have an escape route plan, like whether it's hurricane, fire, whatever it may be. That's the kind of natural disasters that are more prevalent in your area. Because I was telling Corey, I was like, we got shit just scattered throughout this house. Like, okay, our passport's over here and this is over here. It's like, shit, we need to consolidate this and make sure it's at least in one area that if something does happen, grab that shit, go, kind of thing. So we're like, damn, where we put this and where we need this and we need this and where the house key at? And no, girl, that's a lot. So it's just like, that's what kind of comes top to mind for me. It's just like making sure you have a game plan, because life be life and sometimes. And when you don't think it's going to happen to you, something crazy could. And so being aware on that. But for those that are listening that are out in that area, I know this may be a Debbie Downer moment or it's a trigger moment for you in this part of the podcast. So we're not trying to do that, but we're just trying to put like perspective on the situation. And we're like, oh, hold on, Z's from there. So he has the inside scoop on that. And you were about to say something else there?
Just really quickly, the only thing I would just add is this, if you're looking for an organization to support, the Red Cross has been doing that good work for hundreds of years, essentially. And so if you want to contact them, you can do that by just reaching out to redcross.org, or you can call them with your donations at 1-800-RED-CROSS. That's 800-733-2767. Or you can text the word CA Wildfires to 90999 to make a donation. And so just keep that in your back pocket, share it with your networks. I'm sure there's a lot of other really great organizations that are lending a hand, and this is just one central place that we know for sure with confidence that the what you contribute will go directly to supporting those that are in the greatest need.
Awesome. Appreciate that.
Can I add one more thing in regards to the insurance part, since we also referenced climate change?
Yes.
You know, with the hurricanes that went through Florida and even went up north through south and really hit North Carolina really hard, you know, virtually all the insurance companies, from my understanding, left the state of Florida. So now Florida's, you know, the state is trying to find ways to be able to supplement that and provide insurance. This is a direct response to climate change. Insurance companies are out to make money. So if the insurance company is like, you know, this changing over here, that means that this, I mean, they have all the actuaries, they have all that information. So, you know, if you know, they've left Florida, that means they're pretty much like we're never going to be able to make money there. And so it's a risk. It's a risk for folks that live there. And if they end up leaving California completely at some point, I mean, there are some insurance companies that have left, you know, whether it be for fires, whether it be for floods. You know, there's been more flooding, you know, on the West Coast now too, which you normally wouldn't think about. When you think about Southern California, you don't think about rain, but I know that there was flooding in San Diego last year. There was flooding.
I know Tony lied to us.
Right.
They said that was before climate change.
So pay attention to that. That's, I think, something that folks really aren't necessarily talking about. Putting the puzzle pieces together. That, you know, they're out to make money. So if they can't make money and they leave, then that's saying something. And our government's really not doing a good job in regards to putting all those puzzle pieces together.
So like it makes ice and snow be like, well, damn, maybe I will stay on the East Coast. It's like shit. Like where we fit to go? No way.
I mean, honestly, it's one thing when you've grown up in some of those areas. You know, California has been known as a hotbed of natural disasters. I mean, listen, through all of the 80s and the early 90s, they were riddled with earthquakes. That had seemed to subside, but they still have some rumblings, you know, here from time to time. But, you know, risk of tsunami and hurricane and fires and droughts and just the list goes on. And, you know, for a person that's like thinking, oh, where do I want to settle down for the rest of my life? It's now you really have to think really critically, because all of the people that have, again, just from a small business perspective, you know, that may not have lost their homes, but lost their business, right? Yeah. And you have to literally start over from scratch. That is a huge consideration. And it's like, what do? You know, do you not move to a particular state because, you know, of their, you know, the tornadoes, the lack of protection, essentially. It's the same thing with Florida from a flood standpoint. You know that there's going to be hurricanes every single year.
Yeah, you do.
You know,
and you know what's going to happen.
It's going to happen, you know?
And then the layer on top of just the protections as a minority group, that should get dwindled down real quick. Between natural disasters and then people disasters, like, well, damn. Where the fuck did I go?
Places like Alabama and Omaha starting to look real nice right about now.
Baby,
you never hear anything going on there.
I was like, let me move my ass back to Michigan.
You know what? They need some color up there in North and South Dakota. You know,
baby. Right, Montana, here I come.
Ain't got nothing but land and opportunity. You know what? You'll never hear anything about. They might have an ice storm every once in a while, but they ain't got. They're not at the risk of falling off the continent. You know.
They keep saying that's not going to happen.
Damn. It's like, we'll see. Remember when California was part of the mainland?
Now it's an island.
Right. It's like, damn.
Remember when Florida used to be erect? And now it's
now it's limp.
The whole part of it's just under the water. I mean, I live in Manhattan, and you know, most of lower Manhattan is below sea level.
True.
Yeah, and so, you know, there's been a lot of discussion. It's expensive, but a lot of discussion around how does number one, how does the city of Manhattan expand so that we can have some greater protections? And then how do we safeguard against things like tsunamis and things like that? And so, it's tough living on the coast. It really, really is. And I think, anybody that's listening that's thinking about like, oh, I want to move to sunny California, or I want to move to, the shores of Florida, or I want to, like, these are things that you really have to think about when you're setting up your life in a place.
Yeah.
Get that money right
when it's gone.
Get that money right.
And what do you do? Like from like a financial planning standpoint.
What would you do?
From a
literally from financial standpoint, but like, say you're in this situation. Say like you're in California and this happens to you. Like, would your immediate decision be, I just have to rebuild. This is my home. Like, this is what I love. This is what I enjoy. Or would you say, I just don't got it in me? I honestly don't know what I would do. And that's the crazy thing. And I'm sure it changes by the day.
And I think it depends on whether you're older or not as well, right? So if you're getting up there in years,
we got a few.
Struggling through getting a house rebuilt may not be the best, use of your time with the limited amount of time we have here on this earth. And there's a lot of elders that are in that part of Altadena that were able to buy the houses way back for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 back when the community first opened up. They've accrued some equity there and stuff, but it's I really hope that they have the ability, at least if there are some elders there, that they're able to have folks within their family do the rebuilding so that they can still be there.
Because that's just such rich history, like they've seen, because that was one of the few communities that the Black folks could go in and live the quote unquote American dream, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so just the history, that's the real like sad part too. It's just like, yes, the physical stuff and the memory stuff, that fucking is a gut punch. But then now it's just like, if we do go, all of those memories that we're still here physically and still remember it goes as well. Oh man, that's
I have friends that lost their home there, and the firefighters were able to, get the saws and help them find their wedding rings.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wait, what? I was about to ask, why was that wedding ring off? And then I looked down, I was like, hold on, mine off right now too.
Don't point no fingers.
When you go to the gym, that shit hurt.
So I think it was their original wedding bands, and I will leave it at that.
Yep, I know, I get it. But yeah, again, and I'm gonna volunteer, Z, if you're looking for ground roots connections to potentially donate to something, Z's gonna be a good contact. So then we'll put his like information all through the posts and things like that. But I'm volunteering him, but I'm sure he'll more than happy kind of connect you with the appropriate folks on the ground there.
Absolutely. I would be honored to.
So, go from one topic to the next one here. So, legal correspondent, we have a new administration here. And I got a new name for this dude, because usually I call him old boy, and I'm just gonna call him the felon now. He ain't even old boy no more. He's just the felon. Yeah. The felon done over.
Instead of 45, you can call him 37.
That. Has already started ruckus, which we knew he would from the ground day one. But as from like the lawyer hat, and obviously this is just entertainment purposes only, community. Oh, yeah. So whatever he says, you ain't get it from him. But what can we do as a community at large to just proactively help ourselves? Because they're obviously, like, even though he signs executive orders, there's just still a lot of things that got to go into place that, like, even if he signs it, it doesn't become law and all this stuff. So there's all kind of loopholes throughout it. But I personally know, what's today, the 21st, I have friends here in Philly that are getting married in 3 days because of the fear of them rescinding the gay marriage, or at least saying no more gay marriage after a certain point and things like that. So what are some things we could do proactively to shore up ourselves as a community from a legal standpoint, where there's like living wills and things like that, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, let's start with the gay marriage part. I know that there's a lot of folks across the country, even before, once the election took place, we're running to make plans to be able to get married before January the 20th. The part to remember is that, Trump can't just sign an executive order and get rid of gay marriage, right? This was a decision made by the United States Supreme Court. And so the court would have to reverse themselves in regards to that. Now, we know that the court's very interested in regard to this because there was a dissent written by Justice Thomas, saying that he wanted to revisit all these legal cases. Interestingly enough, he didn't want to revisit the legal case in regards to interracial marriage, because he's in an interracial marriage. But, that's the Biden administration and Congress put forward, legislation to try to shore up marriage from that perspective. But it was not the Equality Act that we've been fighting for, which is a different type of legal instrument, which will provide legal protections across the board for our entire community. So what that law pretty much said and requires is states to recognize the marriages of other states. So all states have to recognize the marriage of other states. It's not saying that every state has to provide marriages and the ability for same-sex couples to get married. So
Cliff Notes means you can still go down to Las Vegas, go into the Chapel of Love, and get married in your in your
just like Britney.
Right, your Elvis car and everything.
Have your Britney and Tina Turner fantasy wedding, and your state still has to recognize that shit.
Absolutely, and also remember, before we had the Obergefell case, which created the ability to get married in any state across the country. If the United States Supreme Court reverses on that, we still have 30 plus states that on the books, based on their state constitutions, allow for same-sex marriage. So there still will be places where you'll be able to get married, and then have the other states recognize your marriage as well. Moving forward in regards to those families that have children, this is going to be an important part as well, because if your parental rights rest on you being the spouse of the other person, the recommendation that I'm hearing from folks that practice in the area of family law is actually moving forward and getting the adoption papers officiated separately, so that it doesn't necessarily say spouse. And so with folks that are in the wills, trusts, and estates area as well, they're saying we have got to do some of the same stuff that we were doing before gay marriage was available, and when it was domestic partnerships and all that kind of stuff. So, amending your will to make sure that it doesn't say husband or wife and actually has the name of the individual. You would think that these are nitpicky kind of things, but attorneys, it's all about, every word, every comma means something. Every word means something in each and every single one of those documents. So connect with one of your local wills, trusts, and estates attorneys in regards to getting a consultation to see if your documents need to be updated. Again, powers of attorneys and all the stuff that you would need in order to be able to visit each other in the hospital. I mean, it just reminds me of the, HIV/AIDS epidemic, where there were family members that weren't happy that their child was a part of the LGBTQ plus community, and, not allowing the spouse partner to visit them when they're in the hospital, and then, taking their assets once, if they pass away. And so these are things that I think we're in a different place now, where we've had the ability in years and experience of folks getting married and our friends getting married and things like that, as opposed to 15 years ago when folks weren't able to get married at all. So we need to lean on that and talk to our friends about that too, because there are a lot of us that don't have wills and stuff like that out there either.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing. It's just like 15 years ago seems so long ago, but it's still so tangible too. So talk to your elders community members. Some of us that kind of were pre and post a lot of these rights that we gained, because you're absolutely right. That's just like it was almost a game that we had to play to find those loopholes, to find those things, to shore up our relationships before we were legally able to get married, that we're going to have to tap right back into to ensure moving forward that we still have these rights, and still that our spouse could get the things that we work so hard while we are alive, just in case we pass away and things like that. So
And the only thing that I would offer is just more from like an HR side of things. For a lot of folks, your companies may have benefits specifically around legal assistance and legal advice and financial advice and services that are paid for or in some way subsidized by the relationship through your employer. So don't feel that you have to always come out of pocket, because I know a lot of people don't go through the extra step of defining their will and getting some of these things done because they think, oh, this is going to be $5,000 right off the rip that I just don't have to spend on this when I only got $5,000. So check with your benefits, check with your HR team, and find out what services are available. Now, I won't guarantee that every single person's company or organization that they work for has these services, but it's a great place to start before you start coming out of pocket yourself.
And people have the ability to handwrite like they used to do back in the day, right? So look at, you can look up your state and see what the requirements are in regards to whether it needs to be notarized or whether it needs to be, your signature needs to be witnessed by 2 people. But, those laws are still on the books as well. I think it's called, if I remember serves me correct from my law school days, holographic will is the one that you write by hand. And so, that's an option as well. So, I mean, if you don't
I call it the Aretha Franklin will, the one that found underneath the seat cushion.
Written on a sandwich wrapper.
Baby.
All my shit goes to so-and-so.
Baby, that Coney dog wrapper.
I mean, if you don't have a complicated estate, I mean, that's an easy one as well there. But document it, please. And as well, our people, Black folks, it's unfortunately very common for us not to have wills as well. And I think there's a lot of reasons why that's the case. I mean, when you don't have generational wealth, you haven't owned the home that you've lived in, you're renting, and your grandparents rented and they rented. Folks think I have nothing to leave to other people. And so we need to get out of that mindset, because there are many people that have assets that they need to pass on. So just my little soapbox moment.
No, that's a good soapbox to be on.
And then I would also just advise, have conversations with your people about what you want. Like, if you don't, people will make shit up, or worse yet, they'll do what you wouldn't want them to do with your assets, your belongings, your whatever. So just make sure that you have those conversations.
Whether you want to be cremated or not.
Look, I told my family over Christmas, burn me up and throw me in the trash. When I'm done,
on the podcast episode too.
Like, burn me up and throw me in the trash. I don't want y'all spending no money on no goddamn funeral. I don't want no procession. I don't want no goddamn grave. I don't want you spending no money on no coffin. None of that. Don't even put me in a pine box. Just burn me up and throw me in the trash and get on with your lives, because that is absolutely not something that I want. Take whatever I have, you split up amongst yourselves. I don't give a damn. Most of my family don't want my shit. They're like, I don't want this goddamn pain. This boy.
But where's Amara gonna go?
She gonna have to be burned up with me. She's gonna have to go. Okay. I'm gonna have to pull a Pharaoh on that one. I'm gonna have to pull a Pharaoh on that one.
You better write that in your will.
What, do I go into that fire like this, Amara on his chest like this?
Sorry, girl. She over there chilling by the wall. Sorry, girl.
If I gotta go, you gotta go too.
You coming too. Get your shit. We getting burnt up together.
Oh my goodness. But so this, what, you just said something that reminded me. There are certain states that have different requirements. So I didn't know until a dear friend passed away that in California, you have to cremate the people in a casket. You have to do it. So even if it's the cheapest pine box, you got to spend $500 for it. You still got to pay for it. And it's ridiculous. Each state's different in regards to this stuff, but it's really strange.
Wow. But I shout out to my dad though. My dad's on top of stuff like that. Like even this past Christmas when we're all together, he's like, "We done updated the will. This is where you can find it." Da 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 da. And he's like, "Don't put the money in the ground," because he's a pastor too. And he's just well connected and well known. So he's like, "I know folks are gonna want to do X, Y, Z. I get it, but don't spend too much money on this. And he's like, you don't need to be in there for no 5 hours saying, oh, Pastor Rev is, oh Lord. He's like, no, you don't need to do all that. And we're all on one accord because because it could be easy in that moment when you're emotional to not think as coherently and clearly. And that's something I've asked both my parents. I was like, because it's going to come on me. Like, I'm going to be the executor. I get all that. And I'm pretty logical in those moments. But I just know when it comes to them, it's just going to be a lot for me. Yeah. And God forbid, I hope it's still decades down the line. So I'm like, please, just for the sake of Corel, spell it out as clearly as you can for me. And my dad's very good about that stuff. So like, he's like, nope, we updated it, da, 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 da. And he's very matter of fact, like there's no emotion in that regard. He's like, nope, this is what it is, da, da, da. So I'm thankful for that because I just don't want to think in that moment.
Yeah. Makes it easy when they make all the plans for you.
Yes, please do. So I agree.
You want to hear a light story on this topic?
Say again?
You want to hear a light story on this topic?
Absolutely.
So I know somebody that has in their will that they want sobbing drag queens at the wake. like sisters of perpetual indulgence, sobbing drag queens.
Not
like there is money put aside to make sure that is there.
That happens.
I'm gonna be at that funeral. Unless I go first.
Right, that's gonna be a fire funeral.
Honestly, you can put any requests you want in there.
I told my family right after I told them the whole thing about throw me in the trash. I said, and also I'm not going to any more funerals. I'm not. Well, and this isn't about being like petty or whatever, but like I went to, so in the 48 years that I've been on this planet, we've had, I want to say 4 deaths in my immediate to expanded family, right? In the entire time that all of my grandmother is still alive. All of her brothers and sisters are still alive. Their spouses are all still alive, etc. My mother and her brothers and sisters, they're still all alive. Like we have had very few deaths. And when my uncle passed away unexpectedly, I went to the funeral and I was so, we weren't like super close. It wasn't like, like we were family, but we weren't like super close. And I was so overwhelmed with emotion. I never want to go through that again in my life, ever. Yeah, man. And I love this. Is not. More people mourn differently, and I get it. What's good for you is good for you, but what works for me works for me. And I had to explain, like, I'm not going. Whenever whomever passes, I ain't going to no funeral. Don't look for me.
What was the response?
They said, okay. where I think they think I was kidding, but I'm not. I'm not.
I'm sure they think you're kidding.
I'm absolutely not. I'm not going to any funerals at all, ever.
I can assure you, you're going to have that conversation again.
And you're going to have that conversation.
They will find out.
Kind of way.
They're going
to find out when you're not there.
Right. They're going to find out when I'm not there. And you don't have to, and they're not even going to have to wonder, like, well, where is Dewan? Well, wait a minute. Back in, 2024, he
just
said,
show them this clip. On episode 312.
Yeah, no.
They're not going to remember
that. They don't have to. I will. And
I'll remember for them.
Right. and it's not, this is not coming from a place. Let me take a step back. This is coming from.
It's coming from an emotion space. You don't.
It's coming from a self-protective place because that
it's
is. I know that because I really haven't had anyone super close to me pass, and from what I know about grief from afar, ain't nothing to be messing around with. And I don't take comfort. I don't take comfort in being around when shit happens, I cocoon myself. I'm one of those people where I lock myself in a room. I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to be around nobody. No, you can't do anything for me. Don't make me any food. Just leave me the fuck alone.
Leave me the hell alone.
And so extrapolate that out. Like one of the worst things that and the most tragic things that can happen is death and losing someone that you care about and whatnot. And I know that I'm gonna need to isolate myself, and I'm not showing up for anybody else.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that people, and there may be people listening like who don't understand it, and that's okay. But there may be some people who's listening is like, you know what, I'm feeling the same way too, and I just never really vocalize that. And I'm just here to say, like, in today's world, in a post-COVID environment,
you said in a 90s kind of world, I'm glad I got my girl.
You gotta do what you need to do to take care of you.
Yeah.
Even if that means, not showing up for other people. Even if that means having the hard conversations with yourself about, oh, I need to be planning for what happens should something happen to me, what happens to my kids, what happens to my things, what happens to my loved ones, what happens to my partner. Like, you have to take care of yourself, because if you leave it in somebody else's hands, it's in their hands.
Right. Absolutely.
Right? Or it's in the government's hands.
That's the true word.
Let me highlight that too. Okay, so two things. It's getting a document in writing is essential and important. If you don't have a will, then it has to go into probate, and different states require probate regardless. But there are times that the government can end up with the property, especially if there's a mortgage on the property and you don't have the ability to pay the mortgage while it's in probate. I've seen it go 2 years in probate. And, that's a whole thing too, where the government ends up acquiring property only because you didn't have a piece of paper saying, I want to leave this to my son, even though that's your only living heir. Yep. Right.
Or so if you don't write the will succinct enough, and then the family ends up fighting for it so long, then they still go to the government. Just hypothetically speaking, from seeing it in my family.
No, you're right. And you're right. People, and if it's not written down, people will want to do their own thing and fight. I've seen it at a bunch of funerals, and it's easy to be like, it's right here on the piece of paper. This is what she wanted. This is what he wanted. And people will be mad.
I told my brother and sister, we ain't fighting. I don't give a damn. Y'all do what you want. I don't want anything. No. If something comes to me, I'm getting no. Y'all fight. Thing. Y'all fight. I was like, I'm not messing with that.
And honestly, I don't even think there's anything all three of us would even want at the same time. But even if there was, y'all have I ain't about to fight. Like, I'm already tired. I'm already emotional. And now y'all want me to fight with the other people I love? I ain't got it in me. I ain't doing it. I don't care about this that much. Take that article of clothing. It's yours.
My peace. I'll fight for my peace. Baby. I ain't fighting for that shit.
That. Seriously. And that's the older I get. I just want peace. That's all. That's literally, yes, and some traveling and some money and things like that. But ultimately, it's all to support peace.
Right.
Hey, Juwan, I have a follow-up question for you in regards to your "just leave me alone." Right. Mm-hmm. When will people know that you need help? I mean, let's say you're going through this grief really for the first time, if it's somebody really close to you. And they know that your modus operandi is to cocoon and to be by yourself. But let's say you don't have the skills you think you have the skills now, but you don't know until you're in that situation to be able to handle it. And people want to respect your boundary in regards to leaving you the hell alone. But what can they do to at least let you know that, hey, when you're ready to come out of your cocoon, I'm here for you, or something to that effect? Because that's the other part is, grief can take people in a lot of dark places. Whitney's daughter passing away on the same day that Whitney passed. These things aren't accidents, right? Yeah. So what would you have to say in regards to that? Not meaning to get all extra dark and deep, but there's likely to be people out there like you.
Look, we've been treading the water since the episode started, so we already been deep. We'll get to the lighter stuff towards the end. Just hang in there, community.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. But for me, I'll say two things. For me, I have one person in my life that is like, when things are the roughest, when I'm having the most difficult time, I talk to my sister. My sister is like my best friend. We listen and we don't judge. We have that kind of relationship. And so, I don't know when it comes to grief, because, well, let me put it this way. My sister and I talk multiple times a day, almost every day, whether it's texts or phone calls or FaceTime or all three sometimes. If she hasn't heard from me in 2 days, it's either because I'm traveling and she knows I'm traveling because I text her when I fly and I text her when I land and I don't talk to her for the entire time until I'm getting ready to fly back. If she hasn't heard from me in 2 days, she's usually checking in on me. So I know at least I have one person that's in my. Now it's not to say that I don't have other people that I can rely on, that I can lean on that in times of need or whatever. But I know for a fact that would be the one person that I would say I need help, and that will be the person that I know will actually help me. Now the other people I can say I can need help, and then the stuff that they offer, and it's like you brought me a pound cake. No. So,
but pound cake do be good. You can bring me a pound. No, I don't want no pound cake.
It depends on who make it because pound cake be dry.
Not a dry ass pound cake though. Step your pussy up. Step your pussy up.
I'm over here struggling, and you try to.
And you want me to choke on this? You trying to kill me too? Golly.
I'm already struggling. You bring me this brick? What the hell is wrong with you? See, that's why I knew I should have called my sister.
You don't love me. You don't love me. You just trying to get the real money.
Right? So for me, it's that. I know that I have at least one person that I can really, really depend on. And I think you're absolutely right. When you haven't gone through something really devastating and traumatic and heartbreaking and horrible or whatever those things are, when you haven't gone through those experiences, it's hard to know how you're going to show up in those moments. And I'll be the first one to say, and I've shared this on the podcast, I share a lot of stuff. I'm pretty much, for the most part, an open book. But there are a lot of things that I don't share on the podcast. And there are certain things that I'm very, very private about. And I know they were like, well, what is it? Because damn, you be sharing that. What are you talking about?
Last week I talked about my glory hole days, so I can't even say shit. Mine is too open.
But, I'm a Leo. And Leos are not only proud individuals, and I'm not like an ego proud person and that kind of a Leo, but I'm more of a I'm a self-sufficient person, meaning I rely on myself and to my own detriment because I'm not as vulnerable with other people. So when and if I'm going through something, usually it's when I'm getting to a breaking point that, it kind of comes out. And that's not my intention, because my intention is I want to isolate my feelings, figure out what it is that I'm really feeling and kind of work through that on my own. And then when I'm ready to talk about it without all the emotion and other stuff that comes attached to it, I can talk about it. So then I can ask for what it is I really need. Because what I found out about myself is that when I'm in a heightened state, and y'all know I'm a pretty passionate person. You listen to this episode, you can see I'm a pretty passionate person, I know. And so there's a lot of emotion that's sitting on the surface, but when I need something, to be able to articulate what it is that I need from someone else so that they're not guessing and just, kind of throwing darts in a dark room or whatever, trying to hit a bullseye, I need to be devoid. I need to have processed my emotion so I can speak and say, this is what I'm feeling. This is why I'm feeling. This is what I need. And if I haven't
we need to just call your sister, be like, hey, Brandon.
Check in with Juan.
Check in with Devon.
But only, I would say for everybody else, if y'all haven't seen me for about 2 weeks, give me good 2 weeks.
He's just in Brazil.
You could be at the bottom of the Hudson by then.
You ain't wrong about that.
He's just on vacay.
I think you bring up a really good point, Z, about people who are kind of self-reliant. It is important to start thinking about, what might be the thing that would then warrant you reaching out, and how can your friends, your loved ones that really care about you know when you really need help. And I think a lot of us, as we're all kind of, and especially in the Black community, we're in this vibe, this motion of breaking generational curses and getting away from the bondages of, the things that we experience so that we can, set a better example.
Break every chain.
And a lot of that is us being self-reliant, us depending on ourselves. And so that asking for help thing is not as commonplace as it was perhaps, let's say 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, no, that was a very good question. Cause I agree. And I'm similar in that regard. Like, and I think it's just like, I've always been that way of just like, okay, people just rely on me to figure shit out. And so like, it forces me to figure my own shit out too, even when I don't want to figure my own shit out. But I don't know how to articulate for you to figure my shit out, and then you ain't gonna figure it out as good as me.
That's a skill.
That's kind of real, right?
No, I'm serious. That is a skill for a person to be able to, for a person who is self-reliant, to be able to tell someone else what you need from them. Because if they don't do it the way you need for them to do it,
just adds more to the plate. That's what the feeling. It feels like
I ain't got time.
You should have figured this shit out. You should have known, even though you shouldn't have known. Right. But now it's on my plate, and now I got to figure some more shit out because I don't know how to tell you.
Because of you.
How to tell you.
Because of you.
Because damn, you're right. Get out my way. Let me just sit down for a second.
Ooh, bitch.
Right. But honestly, like Brandy's your sister's yours. My dad is mine. Like my dad's the only one that I could go to because we think too much alike. Mm-hmm. And so I know, he could take the emotion out first because that's what I ultimately need. I don't need anyone to get emotional in the moment. Like, let's break this shit down. And everyone else reacts with emotion first. Mm-hmm. And I'm not the most react with emotion person. So now I got to figure out your damn emotions. Now I'm getting hyped up, you know? And so he's one of the few people initially I can say, Dad, I don't need emotion. This is da-da-da-da-da. And he'd be like, all right, this is what I would do. This is what I'm thinking. Da-da-da-da-da. And logically, it makes sense to me. Boom! Now I can deal with the emotion part of it, and now they can do. My dad get it. So yeah, that's gonna be I'm a mama's boy though too. Like I'm just like both of them. So thank God they're still around. Lord, please let them be around for decades to come. Amen. Mm-hmm. But that's gonna be tough for me, and so that's why I told him write everything down because especially my dad, he would be the one to be like, okay, this is going on, and if he's gone, I'm be like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who. Even though I probably do know, I need that reassurance sometimes. So yeah. So community, if you're trying to help me out, don't come with no damn emotion. Because that's just gonna make me mad, and then now I'm emotional. So anyway, that was a good ass question. And honestly, this is just kind of maybe a heavier episode because we might not get to some of these, and we'll save the Ashy Aunties. We actually had the Ashy Aunties, but we'll save it for next week. Because there's still one more topic that we wanted to tap into Z and his knowledge. Because the Supreme Court is going to rule on allowing parents to ban students from the LGBTQIA lessons and things like that, stories and things like that in school. What is your gut feeling? and if that's the case, like why? Like I don't want to hear about the KKK. I don't want to hear about where's that line then for other stuff that I don't want my kid to learn because of the white supremacy and shit like that.
Yeah, the challenge with this one is this kind of started in Florida with the whole, banning the AP African American history class and yet keeping some of the other classes and the whole don't say gay thing, which they said was going to only be for elementary school kids and then went all the way up and they took all these books out and everything. It's like, what society is progressive when you're taking away books or burning books? None of them, right? And so there's this whole, false narrative that, teachers are indoctrinating kids and parents should have the right to be able to say what their kids. Parents have always had that right. Up to this point, the parents have not cared. Mm-hmm. They have not cared, right? And so I think and there's a lot of false assumptions in regards to, and even Trump said this. Sorry, wasn't supposed to ever say that.
Felon. I mean, 37.
Felon said, in one of the town halls, the kids go to school and then they come back and they're a different gender. It's like, that is dumb. It is not happening. Right?
Well, he did just tell us that we're all female because he doesn't know how conception works. So anyway,
so there's been folks that track this. There's maybe 1,000 kids in the country that are on hormone blockers. It's not a huge percentage of kids, and they have to go through the psychological analysis and testing and all that kind of stuff. And so it's not this widespread thing that people are thinking happen. If my memory serves me correct, there was also a survey. Folks track this down, or we'll track it down, and I'll track it down and put it in the chat. But they asked Americans, like, what percentage of Black folks do you think are in this country? What percentage of trans folks? I think they said like they thought 30% of the people in this country are trans. Lord Jesus.
Girl.
It's like less than 1%. So getting back to this case, you know, do you remember the People versus Larry Flint with Hustler magazine and that whole thing? I mean, when we were younger, remember, you know, Two Live Crew testifying in front of Congress because they had a song that was a bit risque for the time.
Me So Horny.
So
a song.
The whole album.
Everybody say, hey, we want
some. Pop that pussy, hoe.
So this aspect in regards to decency and what's offensive and what's X-rated changes over time. I remember, you know, the cover of Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition was covered. You had to buy the edition to be able to see it. Yet now on the cover of Maxim magazine, all this kind of stuff, it's different. It's different. And so it'll be interesting for this court to be able to evaluate this aspect and element. I do think that there's going to be a certain, that there is going to be some kind of codifying of parental rights in regards to excluding kids from certain lessons. The same thing was available with parents in regards to sex ed. I remember that. You would think sex ed is something that's in every school across the country. Absolutely not. Yeah. Absolutely not. Still today. And so this kind of falls in line from that perspective. And so, yeah, parents should be, but the challenge ends up becoming, you know, some of these parents think, well, then my kid's not going to become LGBT, right? And it's like, if that's them, that's them. They're going to know their kids. They're going to know their friends. You know, there'll be faculty members, you know, at the school that may know. The part that concerns me the most is the states that require for, you know, educators to out the kids to the parents. Because that's the part that can end up putting them in harm's way, seriously. Yeah. And so there are states that have those on the books, and I know the ACLU and a lot of other organizations are challenging those laws because it really does put the kids at risk. But this is the conservative United States Supreme Court. And yes, Justice Amy Coney Barrett has been, you know, the swing vote, strangely enough, in regards to a bunch of these decisions, then Justice Roberts. But there's a solid majority of folks that think conservatively in regards to these types of things.
And the scary thing too is sometimes it's just like when you're that young, trying to just figure yourself out, like to force your kid into making a decision then too, because there's sometimes where like they're just figuring themselves out. Maybe they're not gay, maybe they're bi, maybe they're somewhere on the spectrum, but to try to force, and like, who are you to decide that for someone? That's like, that just breaks my heart because you know it's going to happen. And
You want some more bad news?
Yes.
Sure.
Since we're already here, yeah, give it to us all at once. So,
might as well.
You know, so the groups that are moving forward in regards to bringing these types of cases to the Supreme Court have identified the next issue that they're going to attack, and that's going to be, and I forget the actual framing that they come up with, but it's about teaching kids about their feelings, right? Like, why are you teaching kids about empathy? They're going to be attacking. That's going to be the next. That's going to be the next realm, because you know what they're. I just heard an interview recently of I think it's like Moms Defending Liberty or whatever that organization is. It's something to the effect of, they're like, well, you know, if there's a 3-year-old and they're like, oh, well, she has 2 moms, and think of what that feels like, and da 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 da. And so they're like trying to teach kids empathy and being empathetic and care about other people. They're like, nope, not interested. You're indoctrinating our kids.
Like you are. Like, it goes both ways.
That.
I'm so glad I ain't got no kids. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry to y'all parents out there. It's bad. It's bad enough just dealing with their shit, but like the fact that their lives are completely being politicized, you know, it's just, I don't know how y'all do it.
There's a lot. They wonder why a lot of people aren't having kids, or having kids later, or having fewer kids.
I mean, if they're not getting shot up, you know, or bullied, or, you know, like not being protected, or they can't protect themselves. Like, you know, literally, it's like You know how so many parents sent their 16, 17, 18-year-olds to war, right? Because we were in World War II and the Gulf War and all these other things. Literally, you're sending your 3-year-olds, your 4-year-olds, your 8-year-olds, your 10-year-olds to war in these schools because it's a battleground.
It's a matter of time that there's going to be a school shooting, it seems like. And it's it's one of the things here in the States that we just accept as the norm. And everybody else around the world is like, that's not normal.
Like,
it's not normal.
I was thinking this the other day, because I was with this like new administration, just like whenever I am on Facebook, I'm not even on there that often, but it's just like it's always the people that you grew up with that maybe weren't the brightest. and not to say everyone's good at school, you don't need to be good at school. However, it's always the ones that you said, you didn't even do good at school. How you making these rules now? Like, that's what, like, I be thinking now. I'm like, these are the same people that flunked out of school becoming these Congress people. Making rules for the rest of us and not thinking coherently. And again, that's not everybody. So I don't feel like fighting. I don't feel like debating. So if it ain't you, shut up. If your feelings hurt, then it probably is you. But like, that's what I did. I'm like, damn. I'm looking at what you comment, and I remember you not doing that well in school and not thinking that coherently then. And yes, maybe you got better, but damn, how you making the rules for me? I didn't even want to be in your study group back then, and now you're the congressperson.
Please tell me you've seen those videos where people learn how tariffs work in real time.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Right.
I can't even watch them because like
business owners and stuff, and like you walk them through it, and then like the light bulb goes off, and it's like, yeah,
that's you.
I can't do
you
it.
Pay that. You ain't got nothing to do with them.
They voted for it.
Listen, this is the fuck around and find out season.
Week 1, I don't know how I'm gonna make 4 more years.
It's like I said at the top of the call. I muted everything. I'm sorry, but like, I got love for for Out Magazine, Essence, like all of these, these core outlets for things that are going on. But at the end of the day, like, if the first presidency taught me anything, me personally, is that you cannot escape the information except for the things that you can physically turn off. And so I'm not watching the news. I'm not reading I don't really read the paper, but I do have like a couple of like paper apps or whatever that I would read, but those are all deleted. I've started muting. I didn't delete the accounts, but I started muting the accounts because I want to get out of like the first hump of the presidency and all that kind of stuff. Like I need to get I need to get to summer where at least I'm getting a good 12 to 14 hours of sunlight at least to deal with all the shenanigans that is going on, because otherwise every day there's going to be something, and you got to learn how to protect your peace.
I know. In community, I'm glad you be DMing us. Z2, I'm glad you be DMing us. Don't DM us none of that bullshit right now. Because that's how I'm seeing a lot of it right now. I'm like, oh, thank you. But I'm just glad my personal one is just like naked men's and vacay. But the Minority Report, I'm like, damn.
This will be coming in. And the reminder about the auto ads, by the way, since we're on the topic.
Yes. And this is just from Auntie Henny. She was adamant. She said in all caps, she said, please discuss this auto ad on Instagram. So if you were following FLOTUS, POTUS, VP, those accounts aren't owned by like Kamala, Joe Biden, et cetera, et cetera. Those are like the White House Instagram accounts and Twitter accounts and all that stuff. And it just rolls over to the next administration. So at some point over the last few days, it's just rolled over to the next administration. So if you've been following them, now you're following these crackheads, the felons. So if you haven't checked already, go out there, unfollow. Because after about a week or two, if you're still following them, I am unfollowing you. So
that part.
Please do that.
That part.
Because I already went and looked who's following old boy. I was like, oh, you following him? Okay, you was cute. Unfollow. Thank you. Seriously. No ifs, ands, and buts. But so yeah, so that's just a call out because Auntie Henny was having a moment today when she was texting us like, "What the fuck is this?" And so and I think that it's making it appear that Instagram is doing it on purpose. I don't think they are. But you know,
but however, what they are doing,
because it is Zuckerberg and all.
Because what they are doing is they have. This came out, I think, between today and yesterday that they've now banned hashtag Democratic and hashtag democracy. Yeah. So you can look up like Republican Party. If you were to look up Democratic Party, it's coming up as it's a banned hashtag. So they're not showing any of these anything that has that hashtag attached to it. So there is a lot of things that are starting to happen. There are a lot of things that are starting to happen from a meta standpoint that is rolling back a lot of the things and a lot of the privileges that not privileges, a lot of the equitable measures to ensure a safe online and social experience that now is being rolled back. So there's a whole couple of videos out there around how you can get back at Meta if you're not ready to cut the cord. Because to be honest, I'm not ready yet, but it's getting pretty close. For me personally, Facebook can kick rocks, but I still like the Instagram experience for now. But you can actually turn off all your ad settings, all of them. So that means the data collection that they're using to advertise against you, hit them where it hurts and turn all that shit off. So if you go into your settings and look up all of your ad preferences under content, there's like, I think 8 different categories and subcategories underneath all of them. Go in. It takes about a good 5-10 minutes, but do that shit. So at the very least, they aren't tracking you through the automatic opt-ins, and you're hitting them where it counts, which is the data collection.
Yep. That's where because they ain't gonna care about Corell's little 1,600 followers. They're like, "Oh, is that Negro?"
But they want them clicks, and they want to see who he's watching. They want to see how long he's watching those reels. They want to see what accounts he's following. All the activities, so they can sell it.
What ads he stops on, which ads he clicks.
Yeah. And don't fall. Also, the whole TikTok and don't stop and do stop and then don't stop again. Don't fall. I think everyone's kind of saw through it what was happening. But this is the first time we've seen on maybe this grand scale almost government like intervention, like to put distinctly on the TikTok. Thank you, old boy administration. Thank you, felon administration, for helping us out to get TikTok back. That's insane. I think that's the first time we've probably seen it since social media, since the internet, really. So especially in the United States, it had feelings of like other countries that you hear about other countries like a Russia, like a China, North Korea dictating what you see all day, every day.
Propaganda.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa.
So here's the interesting part. TikTok didn't need to go dark when they went dark. They voluntarily went dark.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I went online. I was like, oh, TikTok's still out here.
What's interesting is I've been... Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, baby.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I've been listening to a lot of engineers that have been talking about this TikTok going dark, because the prevailing theory is that it was never a threat of TikTok actually going dark. It was actually them cutting their servers over. Cutting them over to a US base, whether it's Meta, whether it's whomever, cutting them servers over so that they have more control over the data that they're collecting through TikTok. So, and again, I'm not like super into conspiracy theories, but at this stage and what I've seen, I wouldn't put it past them. And to be honest, as far as I'm concerned,
they threw a TikTok party the next day. Like, so that shit don't just hop up out of nowhere. All the creators were there that support the
miraculously
felon.
overnight.
So miraculously, we just got this big ass TikTok party. No ho.
Yeah. Where there's smoke, there's fire.
And felon is great for creating a problem and then acting like he solved it and then wanting the pat on the back for it.
Right.
Which is far as I'm concerned. Seriously, I went on TikTok online. I was like, oh, this shit's still out here. It's just an app.
And honestly, like I haven't been on TikTok since it supposedly went back online, and low key, I think I'm going to delete it.
Yeah.
This is one
TikTok
thing.
is good for like, I use TikTok for like stuff that I'm like trying to learn real quick. Like I'd be like, oh, I need information, like almost like I'm trying to think of an example. I can't think of one
like
top
a
of my head,
recipe.
but like it's easier to do quick little blurbs, not like recipe, almost like Ipanema Beach reel. Let me see what it looked like real quick, or something like stuff like that. Is a lot even easier than like an Instagram. Just the way the algorithm and things are set up, so it's easier to just type in shit like that for me. So that's what I use TikTok for. Not I don't even like endlessly scroll really too much on TikTok. It's like, oh, hold on. Let me look up. I need to figure this out, or I need to.
I think
TikTok. Boom. Got my answer. Bye.
I think the general discourse is people now see how fragile these social media apps are and susceptible they are to political powers, and not on the Democratic side, but you know, and so I think it's one of those things where like for when you have these apps, it could be Grindr as an example. People get addicted to their apps because they're built to be that way. Fine. And it's like you cannot imagine not having it. But once you've cut the cord, it's like, oh, this is kind of nice. So I think that's what actually has happened right now. I think with the whole thing with TikTok, with all the stuff that's coming out about the Meta apps and whatnot, which what we've seen what's happened with Twitter, now X, what we saw what happens to some of the other platforms, the minute that the original experience has changed, people's interest and loyalty to those platforms completely start dwindling. And so, I mean, I don't have anything to back this up other than my own personal experience and what I've seen out there. But I think this whole thing with Twitter turned a lot of people off. And with a lot of these other things, they're getting sick of these, and the stranglehold that Meta through Facebook and Instagram and, you know, et cetera, has had and WhatsApp they've had, people are like, we need something different.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting in 2 years what the next is, because something's on the way. Something's on the way, because I agree. I think this rubbed folks the wrong way, and the veil has been lifted. And you're like, oh, that's just Jeff Goldblum playing Oz. It's like, this ain't it.
And low key, if Blue Sky gets a photo wall, I'm done with everything else. I'm like divesting from all the apps, because I don't really get everything on Blue Sky except a photo wall.
When you say everything,
you get everything.
I'm sure they'll get there.
But community, I know, again, if you haven't been watching the last few weeks, you're like, hold on, it's drag race season. Why the auntie's talking about the drag race? The latest episode review is already out there on YouTube. Check it out. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, hit the subscribe button. So anytime we post content out there, you get notified, like drag content and like our regular episodes here. So go check that out. We're putting the drag race episodes out there as a separate content each week, so it gets to you a little sooner. Z, tell them where to find you. And then also, Z's the author of Gay 50 States. And where's the next book?
So I'm the author of Our Gay History in 50 States. You can pick it up at gay50states.com. And I'm still writing. I'm almost done with Our Black History in 50 States, which is the next book. Interestingly enough, I have a couple publishers that are really interested in it, so they're almost fighting for me to be able to publish it with them. So that's a good position to be in.
It's like, oh no, oh yeah,
oh, both ways. So keep an eye out for that. If you want to pre-order that, you can get that at black50states.com.
Awesome. And where can they find you?
And then like LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Zaylor, I'm the only one around, so it'll be easy to find me.
There we go. Well, community, stay safe out there. We know it's craziness. To our trans brothers and sisters, our non-binary community, and everything in between, you have a safe space here at Minority Report. We see you. We love you. We respect you. We value you. We know it's hard out here in these streets. So hopefully, maybe this episode was maybe not as big of a reprieve, but most weeks is a reprieve where it's not as maybe Debbie Downer. But you have a safe space here, and we see you. We see you. We see you. So until next week, wash your hands, your legs, and your ass, and we see you then.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, community. A lot of you have asked how you can support Minority Report outside of the sharing and downloading and subscribing and leaving reviews. But you can also buy merch. Come on, baby.
I know that's right. And we have a whole lot of options, from clothing to pillows to tumblers and bags. And we continue to update all of our stuff with new styles, new colors, and new products. Jarrell, where can they get all that stuff at?
Well, they can get all that and then some at minorietyreport.com. They can find all the goodies, find out additional information about your aunties. And we also want to make sure that you share and tag us when you do buy merch, all right? So let us know if it's a hoodie, it's a tee, a long shirt, a towel, because we know you need those. But let us know.
Absolutely. And remember to wash your hands, your legs, and your ass.